Okay, let's talk about approach notes and neighbor tones. This is a really cool way to start introducing notes that are outside of the key into our vocabulary so we can get some cool chromaticism in our lines. Because not all the tones that we use will be diatonic. Some will be, but some will be chromatic. And we'll start getting a lot of cool chromatic lines going very soon. So let's start with a very simple progression. I'm just going to go from A to D and back to A. Right now we're going to keep it as triads or even less than triads and talk about the approaches to each note. I'm talking about the chord tones. So the basic A triad arpeggio, or A, C sharp, and E. Take your guitar and try that. You do it in a few different places. The know your neck, right? We're going to take those notes and approach it with one note below it. Well, that just ends up being a scale, right? Now what about from one note above it? Right? So we're approaching it with a neighbor tone, either below or above. Right? So that's right in the key. Now let's take the same thing, but do it regardless of whether the note's in the scale or not. Do it with a chromatic approach note below each one. So the first one is in the key. G sharp to A is in the key. That one's not. That's C to C sharp. And so if you remember, I've been saying many, many times, put a little grease in it when you get to the third. Well, that's really, the grease is like really just a half-step chromatic approach note below the third. Right? And the one below the fifth is also not in the key. A half step below the E. Right? And let's do it from above. The first one is not in the key. B flat to A. Next one is in the key. D, it's just 4 to 3. And the next one is not in the key either. So that's from above, this is from below. Okay? Approaching a note from above diatonically and below chromatically is something you hear quite a bit. For example, you've heard that before, right? So I'm diatonically above each note and a half step below. So here's the above. That's a half step below. In this case, that note is in the key, so they're both diatonic. A half step above, a half step below, so that's not in the key. So you get a little snaky thing there. And then a diatonic note above the fifth, and a half step below, and then the note. Now let's hear it all together. I'll go to the D. It's cool. So you're getting a little shape, and really we're just like focusing on those three notes in the triad, right? Let's do it the other way around. I'm going to start below it chromatically, go above it diatonically, and come back down to the note. Kind of cool. You could also just do that diatonically. But I like the chromatic version better. So we've done it from below and then going from above, then going below and coming up, and then from below going above and coming down. You can mix those up too. I think I may have just done that. So now let's say all chromatic from above and below. So we're kind of surrounding the note, okay? Let's start below, above, note. That's kind of funny sounding. So a half step below, that's in the key. Half step above, outside the key, the note. Out of the key, in the key, the note. Out of the key, the note. Kind of cool. And then from above, below, and then the note. Let's do that slow. Let's do it together. One more time. Okay, so we've gotten a bunch of notes that aren't in the key snuck in there just by surrounding each note of the triad that we're playing. And you're getting a different sound in your ear from doing that. Now let's make it take it a step further. I'm going to combine several of those approach and chromatic diatonic notes and put them all together. What do I mean? I'm going to go from below chromatically, above diatonically, above chromatically, below again chromatically, and then the note. Follow me again. I'm below. Now remember that was the first one we did, right? Diatonic. So I'm below, above diatonic, above chromatic, below chromatic, and the note. Listen to this. All right, let me put that in rhythm. Does that make sense to you? So basically the chords you're outlining, or the notes you're outlining, are just the notes in the chord. Right? Kind of a cool sound, and all we're doing is surrounding each note of the triad. Now you can use these kind of approach and neighbor tones through the whole arpeggio and a seventh arpeggio, for example. I added the seventh, you know? All of these techniques can be used and experimented with our play-along tracks, and that's where really, that's going to be your laboratory for how to make this work through a set of changes. Now we're going to use one of my favorites, All the Things You Are, to really take a look at this technique.